you are tuning in and you are live on our Substack or our IG or our TikTok or the various platforms that we're on, then you can make sure that you just type your questions if you have them right there on whichever platform you're on. I have staff that is monitoring every single platform, but we do our teletown halls. So we've decided to expand our reach beyond just the telephone. So good evening, Texas 30. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know you could be spending your evening doing 100 other things, so I appreciate you taking time to stay informed and engaged. Tonight, we're going to talk about some things that impact millions of Americans and thousands of folks right here in Texas 30, the government shutdown. But before I dive into how we got here and what it means for you, I want to start with a mini lesson on how this all is supposed to work. Understanding that helps clarify why this mess is happening in the first place. Every year, Congress is supposed to pass 12 separate spending bills. Those bills fund everything from the Department of Education and the Department of Defense, because it's called Department of Defense, to the Social Security Office, the programs that feed our children and care for our veterans. Think of this like your household budget. You decide how much is going towards rent, groceries, the light bill, and so on. Congress has to do the same thing for the country. But here's the catch. If Congress doesn't agree on that budget by the deadline, the government doesn't have the legal authority to spend money. That means agencies shut down. Workers are furloughed and services folks count on every single day come to a standstill. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, now, Congresswoman, you say that the government is shut down, but people are still working. There are things that are still going. That is true. People are working and they're not getting paid, including my staff that is helping us out here today. So the shutdown was completely avoidable. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and unfortunately the White House. They had every tool to keep the government open, but instead of doing their jobs, they chose chaos. Let me be clear. A government shutdown doesn't just impact those in Washington, D.C., it hits home. And just to further my point on this, when we look back at the previous government shutdowns, for the last 4 years, we didn't have not a single government shutdown under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. In fact, if you go back all the way to George Bush, most of them didn't really have that many shutdowns. We can find one or two here and there. There is one president who seems to top everybody when it comes to anything that is bad, including his felonies. Yeah, that's the president that I'm talking about. This president has already had 4 shutdowns under his belt. So here in Texas, there's more than 130,000 federal employees, air traffic controllers, TSA officers, VA workers. They are either furloughed or working without pay. For families across Texas who are already stretched thin, this shutdown can make the cost of living even higher. Local contractors who rely on federal work could lose income. SNAP and Medicaid could face backlogs. Even disaster relief could slow down when many Texans are still recovering from recent floods and storms. So how did we end up in this mess? Donald Trump and his crew would rather chase headlines than handle business. They had every chance to pass a budget and keep the government running. But instead of doing their work, they stayed home. Even now, while federal workers are missing paychecks, Speaker Johnson has refused to call the House back into session. They are not voting. They are not negotiating. They are not even governing. And I just want to further this point. I mentioned that we're having to do the continuing resolution, which is a stopgap bill, because the 12 appropriation bills have not been passed. But when we look at it, when we think about what that looks like, that would be, again, the various categories. We have passed approximately 3 of the 12 budget bills out of the House. Nothing has passed the House and the Senate and made it to President Trump's desk. So another way out of this would be Speaker Johnson bringing us back, us doing our work, us passing more appropriations bills, another 9, and then the Senate would have all 12 appropriations in front of them. They could vote on those bills, and that also would open the government, but Speaker Johnson isn't interested in doing any work. Instead, he'd rather point fingers than to do his job. They would rather thrive on dysfunction, and it's the American people who end up paying the price. So let me be clear, this is not about fiscal responsibility. If it were, they wouldn't be handing out billion-dollar tax breaks to the rich while turning their backs on working families. In addition to that, as we start to talk about handing out billion-dollar checks or billion-dollar tax breaks, y'all do know that he also has decided that he wanted to send our dollars overseas. And he's also spending money on his stupid ballroom right now. So y'all know I don't hold back, and I have no problem holding the line for folks in Texas 30 who are already feeling the hit of the shutdown. I came here to fight for you and for folks who make this country run. That means fighting to reopen the government the right way with a budget that reflects our values, not their vendettas. It means making sure every single federal worker gets their back pay that they earned. It means standing up for families, veterans, and seniors who are being impacted the hardest right now. And let me just say this. You can't claim to be America first and then turn around and shut the government that serves the people you claim to represent. That's putting America last. So tonight, I'm not just here to update you, but to hear from you. If this shutdown has impacted you, I want to know how. If you have questions about what's open, what's closed, or how to get help, my team is here to connect you with resources. My team has informed me that there have been a few frequently asked questions coming our way. So before we open it up for live questions, I want to take a few minutes to address those up front. Kendall, you want me to ask it? I can ask it. Okay, I'm gonna ask it. I'm gonna ask it
for you if you want me to.
I got it. It's fine. They're here. All right.
Okay.
Question number 1. Will I receive my WIC benefits during the shutdown? Just for those of you who don't know what WIC is is Women, Infants, and Children Program. It's a program under the Department of Agriculture that provides nutrition, breastfeeding support, health education, and other services free of charge to pregnant women, mothers, and infants and kids up to 5 years old. WIC is funded through the discretionary appropriations process, meaning the government shutdown could affect WIC. Roughly 807,000 Texans were on WIC this past year, with Dallas being one of the largest service areas. In fact, when you look at our district, 41,400 people are eligible for WIC, and it's also ranked 10th in the country for WIC income eligible children. WIC was operating off of a $150 million emergency reserve fund to keep the program going while Republicans refused to act and address the government shutdown. Now, just last Friday, we learned that another $300 million was going to be put into the WIC fund. The Agriculture Department staff have stated that this additional $300 million is now expected to keep WIC afloat for the rest of October. However, suppose Republicans refuse to come to the table and work with Democrats to ensure families and kids get the nutrition they need. In that case, folks across the country may see their WIC benefits pause beginning November 1. I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that folks who need WIC receive it uninterrupted. In fact, just last week, I co-sponsored legislation to transform WIC into a mandatory program, meaning that WIC spending would no longer be controlled through the annual appropriations process, but would instead be based on eligibility and benefit criteria. We can't let Republicans play games with vital programs like WIC, and that's why we're fighting as hard as we are right now. Question number 2. I am on SNAP. Am I going to lose access during the shutdown? Similar to WIC, SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is an Agriculture Department program funded through this discretionary appropriations process. SNAP provides food benefits to low-income families to supplement their grocery budget so they can afford nutritious food, since we know Trump's economy isn't helping lower anyone's grocery cost. Because of this thing called facts, we know that Republican-led states have a greater number of folks using SNAP. In fact, Louisiana, the Speaker of the House's own state, is ranked number 2 in terms of SNAP users. So it's crazy to me that Speaker Johnson is willing to let his people suffer, all to score some political points right now with Trump. Now, back in April, the White House Office of Management and Budget acted so that SNAP would be funded all the way through the end of October, including during a shutdown. Based on the information we have today, folks currently receiving SNAP should continue to get their benefits, but only until the end of October. However, if Republicans continue to drag this out into November and refuse to work with Democrats, then folks are likely going to lose their access to SNAP. While we're on SNAP, let's not forget that because of the Republicans' one big ugly bill, we will eventually see cuts to SNAP. However, those cuts won't take effect for a few months. Their bill will create the largest cut to SNAP in history, slashing $300 billion through 2034. We've already seen the first major change to SNAP, which imposes new requirements that states must comply with by November 1st, ultimately causing 2.3 million SNAP recipients and their families to lose their benefits. In Texas, 13,000 adults are at risk of completely losing their SNAP assistance, and 27,000 households will lose at least some amount of their SNAP assistance. At a time when Trump is firing thousands of government employees for no reason other than to inflict pain, we need to be making sure families have the resources they need to survive, not take their lifelines away. And I'm not just going to sit here quietly and let that happen without a fight. The next question. Democrats keep talking about the healthcare credits. What are they? How will they impact me? Well, this is a really good one. Okay, so in case y'all didn't know, Republicans are doing everything they can to chip away at your healthcare while they're in control. Their one big ugly bill was the largest single rollback in government healthcare access since the creation of Medicaid and Medicare. Under that bill, Republicans slashed $1 trillion from health programs. And because of that, roughly 10 million folks are going to lose access to their health insurance. Now, listen, I don't know what the number is. We get anywhere between 10, 15, and 17 million. We won't know until it really happens. The point is, millions of people are going to lose their health care simply because they decided that they wanted to take $1 trillion out of healthcare and put it into the pockets of billionaires. That's what you need to know. On top of those cuts, we're also heading towards a different healthcare cliff. I am sure you have been hearing a lot about the premium tax credits. These were created under the Affordable Care Act and were extended under President Biden. These tax credits help lower income folks and families afford health insurance purchased through the marketplace by providing advanced tax credits to subsidize the out-of-pocket healthcare premiums. Because of these tax credits, folks save an average of $705 annually from healthcare costs last year. We have to remember that the enrollment period for folks to get insurance on the ACA marketplace is set to open November 1st. If Congress doesn't extend these tax credits, consumers shopping for a plan will see significantly higher premiums. Now, I want to just back up for a second. It's open enrollment season. Some of y'all have probably already started to receive your letters from your insurance company. And when you compare what you paid for whichever plan you have from last year to this year, it most likely is higher. In fact, nobody's told me that it's not higher. Everybody's has been higher. But the increase in the cost of your plan has to do with the one big ugly bill. Because when they pulled that $1 trillion out of healthcare, that meant the rest of us. So even if you don't have Medicaid or Medicare, everybody else is having to kind of pay into this system because now you have less money that's going to be in the system, because that's how insurance kind of works. We all pay into a big pot. And then it's a matter of, I need to pull out of this pot right now and I don't need it right now and that kind of stuff, right? So right now, thank God, I'm healthy. I pay my part. I'm paying into the pot. But when somebody else is sick, then they get to kind of draw down. So when they took the $1 trillion out of the healthcare ecosystem, that messed all of us up. So some people thought, oh, if I'm not on Medicaid, I'm not on Medicare, it's not going to make a difference. Not true. So we're seeing that. But now they are doubling down because come December, those tax credits that you would normally get. So let's say your insurance was $200 a month. Now let's say your insurance is going to be $400 a month. That is a big, ugly bill side effect. Okay. Now, let's say you normally get a tax credit of $50 a month to keep your bill down. Well, now they're saying we're also not going to give you that because that expires come December. So we are fighting right now to say, yo, y'all are terrible about doing your work. You didn't pass any appropriations last year. We right now are supposed to have it all done by September 30th. Y'all messed up, ain't passed no appropriations yet either. So do we think that it is fair for the American people to trust that y'all are going to get this done? Absolutely not. So we are trying to get it done before the deadline because they don't seem to do very well with the deadlines. Okay. So let's see. Where do I want to pick up? Based on independent reports, we know healthcare premiums are going to skyrocket next year if these tax credits don't get extended. In fact, the Kaiser Family Foundation has said costs are going to go up by 114%. In our district, we're expecting that 90,000 people will see their healthcare costs go up. And based on the data we have, a 60-year-old couple in Texas 30 earning $82,800 a year will likely see their annual healthcare premiums increase by $17,465, or roughly 253%. For a family of four earning $64,000 a year, the annual healthcare premiums are likely to increase by $2,571, roughly 197%. That's money out of your pocket being taken away by Republicans, also that they can give their billionaire friends extra tax breaks. I'm not going to stand by and watch my constituents struggle to get healthcare they need while Republicans are giving billionaires a break. That's why my Democratic colleagues and I are demanding Republicans act now before the December 31st deadline when the tax credits expire, instead of promising to fix it later, because we know we can't trust them. They double-crossed Democrats on the debt ceiling limit agreement last Congress, and they have shown us that they have no intention of keeping their word in Congress. All right, so that was a lot, but long story short, we are in a crisis. And there are people that think that this is partisan. But the last time I checked, cancer, diabetes, asthma, whatever you want to say, whatever ailment that you can come up with, last time I checked, it hits everybody. It can hit black, white, red, yellow, green. It can hit LGBTQIA. It can hit every demographic of voter, independents, Republicans, Democrats, and non-voters, all alike. So it is so important that we communicate with those on the other side about why this matters. And this may be why you have seen the lady with this last name. She's come out and now she wants to spread some truths. So, even if you don't want to believe me, I hate to say it, but believe Marjorie. Okay, next question. Will we receive our VA benefits, Social Security checks, Medicare, and Medicaid if the government shutdown continues? The short answer is yes. VA benefits, Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security are funded through separate mechanisms outside of this discretionary appropriations process. So if you're receiving VA benefits, you'll still be able to get them, but you may see a little delay because some of the staff may have been furloughed. Additionally, if you are enrolled in Medicaid and Medicare or receive disability assistance, you shouldn't see any disruption and should continue receiving your benefits for the next 3 months. Okay, now I want to hear from you that are live. So I'm going to turn it over to my Deputy Chief of Staff, Kendall Locke, to moderate this Q&A portion.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Before we go to questions, I want to be sure that I mention some upcoming events and things that are happening here in the district. So I'll run through that real quick and then go over the questions. So, of course, here in the district, everyone knows that we host mobile office hour events to be able to connect with individuals throughout the district. It's an opportunity for you to get assistance with casework and issues related to federal agencies and to meet members of our district team. In the month of November, we have 3 of those events. On Thursday, November the 6th, we'll be in the city of DeSoto. Wednesday, November the 12th, we'll be in the city of Grand Prairie. And on Tuesday, November the 18th, we will be in the city of Cedar Hill. For exact times as well as exact locations, you can find those on our website. So visit crockett.house.gov. Once you're there, click on the events tab, and those will load for you. Additionally, in the month of November, we will host the Veterans Day Breakfast to recognize those individuals who are serving or who have served our country. This event will take place on Saturday, November the 8th. It will be at Paul Quinn College. Again, more specifics or can be found on our website. And then also wanted to be sure to mention that we are in the process of Service Academy nominations. So that program is currently underway. For a brief background, members of Congress are able to nominate candidates for appointment to 4 of the 5 U.S. Service Academies. So the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis, the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, as well as the U.S. Merchant Marines Academy, which is in Kingsport Point, New York. The 5th Service Academy, which is the Coast Guard Academy, does not require a congressional nomination for appointment. If you have a student or know of a student that is interested and they reside within Texas's 30th Congressional District, please have them apply. That information is on our website, again, crockett.house.gov, or they can also call our Dallas office at 214-922-8885 for more information. Applications are open until Friday, October 31st, so that will be the last day in which we are able to accept applications. Again, if you have any questions, please be sure to drop them in the chat if you're on one of our platforms outside of the phone, or of course you can press *3 and someone from our team will grab that question for you. Congresswoman, we have several questions, but a recurrent question that I'm seeing is specifically around, from a lot of constituents, is specifically around our casework function of the office. And just wanting to know, is that something that's still going? Is that something that we can still do? I'm happy to start, or if you want to start, and however you want to do that.
We're going to have a problem if they're not working. So, yes. We're still handling cases. My team is phenomenal. They make me look good, I must admit. So if you have any issues with any agencies, please reach out. The website that Kendall has mentioned a number of times, crockett.house.gov, is the website that you need to go on. I know some people are like, what, you sending me to the website? I promise you it's a lot quicker because we absolutely have to get a privacy waiver. So just think about anything else that requires your privacy, whether it's your doctor's visit or whether you are dealing with an attorney. In order for me to be able to exercise my congressional authority, I have to be able to say, hey, this person has waived their privacy as relates to their veteran situation, their Social Security situation, their IRS situation, whatever the situation is. And so that form is actually on our website. So that's the reason that it actually goes faster. You are always able to visit our office if you want to, but you can do this literally in the middle of the night. If you've got access to a computer, you can fill everything out so that we know what's going on. And then it automatically opens a case in our system that we have. So it doesn't require anybody to type anything in. It's already automatically generated, populated, and opened. And then we have a staffer that then goes in and assigns who is going to be responsible for that case and begin the communication. So it is the quickest, most efficient way to get a case started. Now, we have our own timelines that we typically put on stuff like internally, where we feel like agencies need to be kind of communicating with us, and we may end up kind of jumping in and like, hey, it's X amount of days. I will tell you that the timelines for everything there needs to be a little bit of grace while we are in a shutdown. None of these agencies are completely shut down, but they may be running on a skeleton crew. So it's the best I got to offer. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Kendall.
Nope, that is perfect. And just the one thing that I will note is, of course, the privacy waiver can be found on our website, but also for those individuals who may not have access to a computer or whatnot, you're more than willing or more than able to come to our office, our Dallas office. That information is on our website, and we have those privacy waivers that you can complete in person and turn back into a member of our team.
Yep.
So now to we have a question from Carmen out of Dallas. She asked, how is the shutdown going to impact the Department of Education, specifically with regard to our teachers and students during this time?
Yeah, so, okay. So I want to back up on this one just a little bit. The Department of Education has been under siege, as has kind of the vast majority of our agencies in general. As we know, ICE has been expanded, but most agencies have been truly targeted. And I would say the Department of Education specifically has been on the receiving end of a lot of the hate coming from this administration. So prior to the shutdown, I just want to be clear, the Department of Education is a department that literally is run by some woman who I don't even know. I mean, she's a wrestling somebody. I'm totally unqualified to be running the agency. And that was a feature, not a flaw in the design. Because this administration, this president has made it clear that he actually wants to shut down the Department of Education. So what we've seen from OMB, Russell Vogt, is we've seen him specifically decide that I don't know if y'all saw his bootleg, completely inappropriate Reaper AI generated video about firing people. I think we have to understand that for him, he thinks that this gives him additional authority to do some firings, and the Department of Education has a target on its back. So they've currently closed several of their offices and programs, allegedly because of the shutdown. Again, they've been unfairly targeted in general. In addition to this, the administration is telling us that the Department of Education is going to be furloughing roughly 95% of its staff. Just last week, we learned that the department also gutted the office that oversaw special education and civil rights. I don't think we're surprised, but yes. These offices help to ensure that students with special needs get the resources under IDEA. Yes, IDEA are able to receive the services, therapies, and unique education assistance they need to be able to learn and grow in our schools. This means that schools and educators who are already struggling to recruit, train, and provide students with disabilities the resources that they need are going to be at yet a significant disadvantage. Because this significant cut in the Civil Rights Division, any students whose rights may be violated right now may be suffering. So again, this kind of goes along with what I was saying about my staff. Like, we will assist you with whatever we can assist you with, but there may not be people at the agencies, or the backlog may be such that we are unable to really get things moving in the way that we will want to. Now, this is to say nothing of the fact that the department will not be processing any grant applications for schools and after-school programs, which many of our education settings depend on. So, sorry, bunch of gloom and doom.
Okay, so we have these next two questions I'm going to pull from Instagram. This first one should be very quick, though. It says, where are the House Republicans?
Child, I don't know. If you can find them, let me know. Let me know. I'm thinking about going to their districts because they haven't been posting up there either. They don't want to see their constituents. I haven't seen too many doing town halls. We saw that town hall in Nebraska. It didn't go too well. It didn't go well. But they are not here. We just got out of a caucus meeting where the Democrats were. We're going to be doing a lot of work on the Hill tomorrow. We're going to be doing work on the Hill on Thursday. So I don't know. They don't want to play with us. I mean, Mike Johnson is on TV. I know that. I know he's on TV. But the rest of them, I guess, vacationing somewhere.
Now, this next question is a separate question, but it is definitely linked. It says, is there any indication that Mike Johnson will call Republicans back to D.C. to work with the Democrats and come to an agreement?
It doesn't seem like that is his intent whatsoever. You know, I have asked Republicans that I do talk to, not many, I've asked, and they don't know. They basically, the last information that I got is that once the Senate passed what we passed out of the House, and I shouldn't say we, what they passed out of the House, then we would come back. I think it's a terrible idea. It's a terrible plan. Again, we could be working on the appropriations bills because, again, this is just a stopgap until we finish our homework, which they have done none of. So we could be working on that. Not to mention, it's real, like people talk about members being elitist and definitely they call Democrats elitist and things like that. But think about like how it looks and how it feels for people that are still getting their checks to be like, I'm gonna get my check and I'm not gonna show up to work so that hopefully everybody else can get their checks. Like, I don't even know like why any federal employee, besides the fact that it's been a hostile work environment ever since this administration took over, why would you want to deal with people that literally aren't even trying? Like, he's not listening to us. He's saying, okay, we'll work on healthcare. Well, boo, let's get to it. Let's get to it then. You say we'll do, okay, let's go. You could call us in and say, okay, what do you want? He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to deal with it. And sadly, like I said about Louisiana, like, you say what you want to say about me, but I feel like I stand 10 toes down for the people that I represent. I am constantly getting information from my team on the ground about like the phone calls that are coming into the office and what it is that y'all are most concerned about. We look at the trends of the casework that are coming in so that we understand, so that when I'm filing bills or when I'm making votes, like they are in alignment with the people that I serve. But let me tell you what's not in alignment with anybody that is serving the state of Louisiana. And that is to make it more difficult for them to actually gain access to healthcare. So it's clear that he has no interest in serving his constituents. And I wish Shreveport would handle that because Shreveport is in his district. They may have taken it out because they did a little funny business on the lines here recently. But anyway, listen, somebody needs to let him know how they feel about his service. Because right now he's not doing good by the people in Shreveport, and he definitely not doing good by those people that are farming. I'm just saying. So, yeah, if he could refocus his attention and get it out of somebody else's, and focus on his people, then I think everybody could win. And I think that's why you've seen Marjorie bucking the system and just being honest, because her constituents in Georgia, including her children, because she had to bring her children into this, including her children, are going to struggle. And she even decided to speak out on immigration recently and said that he's doing wrong on immigration. Bruh, we've been saying this. We've been saying it. We've been in these streets. It's been bad. They've gone after ministers. They've gone after women. They've gone after children. They've gone after everybody. Okay. And they are reckless. They are busting windows out. They are wrecking people's cars. They are breaking people's bones. They are causing nothing but damage and havoc. And Marjorie finally spoke up. Now, it seems like it's because her construction business may be taking a hit on the labor side of things. But nevertheless, she has spoken. And so I am here for it because this is very real. Not everyone who came to this country. In fact, if we want to look at the numbers, the vast majority of those immigrants that have come to our country have come and they have contributed and they have not caused harm. Now, does that mean that any demographic is perfect? Absolutely not. We got criminals in all of them. Just look in the White House. I'm just saying. So no demographic is going to be exempt from having people that do bad things, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from. Okay. And I think we all agree that we want to be safe, which is why we probably shouldn't have him in the White House in the first place. But nevertheless, I agree with the president. We should do something about the criminals, starting with him. Next question.
Next question is, where are the Epstein files?
Child. Now listen, I'm starting to believe that they're burning them. I'm starting to lightweight believe that they in the incinerator, because they are upset. The fact that they have not sworn in Adelita Grijalva, and it's so funny because today, it's not funny, but like we had a conversation about this whole drama today in our caucus meeting tonight. And it is awful because there are things that I didn't even understand about her not being sworn in. So for instance, I was like, we were celebrating because they gave her the keys to her office. So now she can at least get in her office. Okay. It's got her name on it. They just, so they finally gave her the keys. So I was like, cool. I was like, what else you got? And she was like, well, I don't have staff. And I was like, I'm confused. What do you mean? Because normally when somebody passes away, which her father passed away in office, then the staff stays there working. I did not know. And I just assumed that all the staff would be on the payroll until she was sworn in. And then they didn't swear her in. But nope. There's literally no staff. And because we're in a shutdown, she can't even hire anybody. Like, talk about like truly harming the constituents of this district, especially at this time. It is absolutely insane. So while they are doing this and it's all about Epstein, they are causing like additional harm and damage to the people that elected her to represent them in Arizona. So yes, I do believe that they're doing some funny business with the Epstein files. I don't know when we'll learn about what all they've done, but they have refused to turn anything else over under the subpoena that was issued by oversight that initiated in a subcommittee of oversight. They gave us the first tranche, and basically they've been like, and we ain't give me nothing else. And if you saw Kash Patel, he was trying to be real funny, like with his words. He was like, well, we'll turn over everything that we legally can turn over. And then he's the one that's making the legal assessment about what can be turned over. I beg for somebody who really knows what they're talking about. And that ain't Kash Patel. Okay. So what I would rather do is like, hey, we take it to court, boo. We can take it to court if you feel that strongly. And there's this process we call in camera, where a judge is able to review everything and say, yes, this is problematic or this isn't problematic or whatever, and go through that. But somehow he ain't asked to go to court. I wonder why. So we will see, but hopefully we will get Rep-elect Grijalva sworn in, get that 218th signature, and get a subpoena or get a vote on getting a subpoena that comes from the entirety of the House. And that subpoena should carry a little bit more weight because it is the entire House versus one of the committees. But the one committee should have been good enough. So we will see.
Okay. We are now moving to a question from Facebook. Okay. The question is, what can I do to get my voice heard during this time? I'm beyond frustrated and scared that we are losing our country.
Okay, so I'm limited in some of the things that I can say because of the side that I'm on. I'm on the official side right now. But I will say that your frustration is warranted and it is respected, because anyone that is going through this time and is not scared, is not frustrated, is not questioning what democracy really looks like, I will tell you that person either lacks all empathy, lacks any touches of reality, or just really is kind of heartless if you are not feeling that way. So number one, I want to validate your feelings. Number two, I want you to tell you that the power still belongs to the people, and they want the people to feel like they lack power. But it is not an individual thing. It is a collective thing, right? Like, I wasn't elected because of one person. I was elected because of a collective of people that came together and raised their voices. And so that is what we should be looking for right now in this moment, is we should figure out what is it that brings us together as people and focus on what we have in common instead of focusing on what makes us different. And when we do that and we come together, the amount of change that we can affect is insanely astronomical. The reason that you can have somebody as far right as Marjorie Taylor Greene decide that she wants to flip the script is because of you. It is because of the people being very clear about what it is that they want out of their government. So what I would say is make sure you are staying in touch with all levels of government, because we are seeing so much courage on the city level with our mayors, on the state level with our governors. So just make sure that you are continuing to make your voice heard in those spaces, because right now our biggest protectors are our governors and our mayors and some of our school districts. So don't just focus on the federal, because in this immediacy, we need to be focusing in on who it is that is really like getting that work done. The other thing that I'll say, and then we can move on to the next one, is I don't know that they really highlighted that there is an individual that purchased Dominion voting machines. I have grave concerns about this purchase. And so it's going to be the secretaries of state that are going to decide, as well as some of the county executives in various counties, that will decide what voting machines we're going to use. I'm going to say right now, it may be worthwhile for people to start having conversations and start organizing around the voting machines, because it has been made clear that the Republicans have decided they are going to cheat by any means necessary. That is why we are enduring the crazy maps that they introduced in Texas. It is why they then went to Missouri. It is why the vice president keeps going to Indiana trying to get them to change theirs. It is why they're doing what they're doing in Ohio. It is why Florida plans to go forward. It is why North Carolina, just as of like a day or two ago, said that they're going to. Let me remind you that North Carolina has a Democratic governor, a Democratic attorney general, all Democrats statewide. The only place they did not vote for a Democrat was for president. God bless North Carolina. Now, they did all of that, so we can say the state is 50-50. The congressional delegation used to be split 7-7. North Carolina, as soon as they got Republicans on that Supreme Court, decided to change the map. They changed the map for this election. They changed it to 10-4. They took 3 seats that most likely would have stayed Democratic seats, considering the fact that Democrats won statewide, right? They took 3 seats away. The difference in the Democrats having the House right now was 3 seats. North Carolina took them. Every seat matters. So make sure you are informed about what is going on all levels of government, because the lines are drawn at the state level. In addition to that, it's very important that we pay attention and we ring the alarms about the fact that the Supreme Court is rehearing this case as it relates to what we call Section 2 Voting Rights Act seats, which is what I have. I have a Section 2 seat in Texas 30. This seat was created because of the number of African Americans in the state of Texas, and specifically in North Texas. I have the most what they call compact district in the state. A lot of times when they're looking as to whether or not a seat is legal or not legal, they're looking at, is it tight or is it all over and sprawling? We have a compact district. It is a good district. And they have decided that they wanted to make changes and mess it up a bit, right? Well, we know that now they're going back because we added a seat in Louisiana under Section 2, which basically is an assurance of our constitutional rights to make sure that everyone's voice and vote counts the same. Now they're about to rehear this case. Now, they were the ones that ruled that, yes, there needs to be a Section 2 seat because 30% of the state of Louisiana was African American, yet African Americans were not allowed to elect anywhere near 30% of their representation to DC. They were the ones that decided that. And all of a sudden, as of, I think, tomorrow, they are taking it up again. If they decimate Section 2 seats, I can tell you, 30, first one they want. And it's going to be devastating for our voices across the country. So just make sure you're staying in tune. Make sure you're staying educated. Make sure you educate others. And make sure that you are not just focusing on the federal level, but you are absolutely paying attention to what's going on in every single level and every single branch of government. I will do my best to make sure I keep you as informed as possible. But get active. And I want you all to know that there's a role for everyone to play. So you don't have to be a politico. There is something for each of you to do. I have to be limited in how much I can say. So I will put some stuff on the other side about things that people can do to be more engaged and involved.
Our next question, this comes from Instagram. What were the results from his, referencing the president, medical assessment?
I don't know. I don't trust anything that comes from these people. It seems like I should have a little tin hat. It seems like I should have a little. Okay. So we know that while his secretary of HHS says COVID shots are terrible, and in fact that they are currently making it more difficult for people to access those shots right now. He got his. He got his COVID booster. He got a flu shot. And yeah, so I'm not really sure how to work through that. But more importantly, I don't believe what we're seeing. I think that there's a lot that has been left out. And so I actually sent a letter, a strongly worded letter. I sent a letter to the president's physician because of the fact that the president has the amount of power that he does. Unfortunately, your health kind of becomes super relevant, right? You don't have as much privacy as, say, other people. And frankly, I think the 25th Amendment is ripe right now for a number of reasons. But I think we've got concerns that we need to be looking at as it relates to his mental health as well as his physical health. Some of the things that weren't said is, number one, they said this was his annual physical. Annual implies once a year. He's already had a physical this year. And so now this, I guess we're doing semi-annual. That's cool. Whatever. He old. I got it. Say it's semi. Okay, fine. Unless he has another one. Who knows? But in speaking to friends of mine that are doctors that have been looking at him, the fact that this hand won't heal, there's a lot of things that people believe is going on. There's an issue with his face. There's an issue with like maybe drop foot. And then cognitively, he's never necessarily been an Einstein, but seems like the decline is happening like this, right? Like he's a madman, like he's crazy. Like he's out here imagining that there's invasions where invasions don't exist, right? He's talking about the Insurrection Act and talking about potentially imposing it. But on January 6th, he didn't see that as an insurrection. And those people got charged and convicted and pled guilty. And he didn't see it as an insurrection. And in fact, he went on his ugly little website and posted in the middle of the night a whole rant about how Joe Biden's FBI was doing all kinds of crazy stuff on January 6th. January 6th, he was the president. he doesn't realize that. Like he forgot. We didn't forget. We will never forget, right? But he was the president. So there's all these signs that he's having issues besides the cankles and the hand situation. There is speculation that he's had some sort of cardiac incident, and that is why he had to go to Walter Reed, because he needed imaging, and you don't continuously need imaging. Plus, there are concerns about his aspirin regimen because what they're claiming they're doing it for is not actually how they use aspirin regimens anymore. So there is a concern about whether or not he actually recently noticed. They still haven't told us where he disappeared to during was that Labor Day, I think? Around Labor Day, something like that. He completely disappeared. There were all these conspiracy theories online. Couldn't find him nowhere, because we know he loved to be in front of the cameras. Couldn't find him nowhere. They still have not explained where he disappeared to. And so there is a theory that something happened, and then that's why he needed the images done 6 weeks later. So we sent a little letter. We're going to see what the doc got to say. But yeah.
And Congresswoman, that was our last question. So
okay.
I'll turn to you for final remarks.
Yes. Okay. They've got something here. All right. So thank you to each of you for taking the time to join us for our third teletown hall of 2025. For those that think never mind. Okay. I don't take your time or trust for granted. It's truly an honor and a privilege to represent you in the halls of Congress, the People's House, and I don't forget who sent me there. Let me be real with you. This shutdown is hurting real people. And while some in Washington are treating it like a game, there's nothing political about missing a paycheck, losing childcare, or not knowing if you'll be able to put food on the table. As long as I have the honor of representing you, I will keep doing what I've always done, calling out the chaos, holding folks accountable, and fighting for you. If my office can be of any assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out. Here's the information you need to reach us once this call ends. For our DC office, call 202-225-8885. For our Dallas office, call 214-922-8885. We also have an email that you can use for all your inquiries. It's tx30.crockett@mail.house.gov. Additionally, please visit our website, crockett.house.gov, where you can find all of the contact information I mentioned, learn more about my stance on specific issues, stay up to date with upcoming events, and much more. Again, thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.